Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with the solo leveling system. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Was the first Osusuki to ever exist. And enjoy that guys. And also don't forget to stay tuned for the rest of the What Ifs coming your way over in the other channels. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado, or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode. Begin now guys. So the last part that we left off, Naruto found himself facing off against a transformed Yagura as the colossal Three Tails came raining down towards him. Naruto had to jump away as the area was reduced to rubble. However, he sighted the attack though, as the others had to stand by and watch as Naruto clashed off against with the Three Tails. Showing strength that baffled everyone there, Naruto was able to lift the Three Tails. Not only lift, but threw the thing around like it was made of paper, just to show how vastly powerful he truly was, as Naruto proceeded to demolish the beast. This was a sign to show the loyalists that if they revolt, they can be cut down, as Naruto pulled out his anti-chakra blade. Naruto rushed towards the beast as it fired his attack. Naruto sliced the Beijo bomb and destroyed it, and sliced right through the beast as well, destroying its chakra. He wasn't done as Naruto proceeded to slice it until there wasn't anything left. His blade destroyed chakra, and the tail beast form was made especially from chakra, so it was a bad fit for Isabu. As Yagura was finally defeated, Mei and the others were so happy. After all these years, they were now finally free. As Naruto stood in front of Yagura's body and said, "Arise." Yagura's soul form emerged and became one of Naruto's shadows. As he had his staff in his hand, his body looking like it was made out of white and blue armor that was made from flames. As Naruto enlisted him as a Kage, Naruto also evolved as well, his level going up, as he was able to defeat a tail beast, a drastic passing level in the system. So with that, the people weren't finally free. All of the others surrendered, realizing that it was over, as them fighting would just do more harm than good right now. A few years passed by, as we find Mito and Menma, both of them on separate missions. The both of them had been putting in the work. Right now the both of them were Jonins of the Hidden Leaf. Most of their graduation class had also had a promotion as well, but the both of them were now leading missions, as Menma was facing off against a gigantic man from the Hidden Stone with a hardening bloodline. Menma showed that he had his mind just like his father and brother as well, as he used the man's own strength against him. Mito was facing off against a former acolyte of Orochimaru, who created a water beast. He also infected several other people with a strange virus that turned their skin and their whole body like they were becoming a fish. As Mito faced off against the beast, he was able to tap into more of the Kyuubi power than she was able to do before. Menma was also vastly stronger in terms of his Mokiton as well. We then skip to Naruto as he was having a meeting. He was speaking to Reina. Even before the 3 years, Reina was questioning her loyalty and her motivation of still being on the Akatsuki, as she was thinking about her life. Seeing Naruto make a change and return back to his home and was with his family, she wondered if she could make a change as well. Because the Akatsuki as she see it was a death sentence, which would claim her life. However, their goal was going to start mayhem in the elemental nation, and she was right in the middle of it. Naruto would want her to leave, but she refused, as she was going to stay in order to help him out. After all, his sister was a Jinchuriki and the Akatsuki were going after them. Naruto sat down with his father as they had a conversation about the Akatsuki and everything. Minato was a bit upset that Naruto did not come to him before. He was also surprised that he had someone on the inside, as Reina informed Naruto that the Akatsuki was going to make a move against the Kazekage. Gaara, after Mito had spoken to him, had changed drastically and take up the mantle as the leader of his village, a proud, valiant leader. But not only that, Minato, to show the friendship and bond that the Sand had with the Sound, he was able to work on Gaara's seal and upgrade Gaara's seal to something more protective. No longer did Gaara have to worry about being bothered or being sleep deprived. Minato did not want to inform Jiraiya about the Rinnegan user just yet, knowing that he would want to go by himself, and they also had to protect the Kazekage, so he sent Naruto there, along with a backup group. Sakura Haruno had excelled quite well under the tutelage of Tsunade Senju, as she was sent along with Kakashi, Yamato and Neji as well, all of them having their purpose to be served on this mission. They had stayed at the border just in case, allowing the Akatsuki to roam within the sand so they could cut them off if they tried to leave. Naruto had spent the night there at the sand, having spoken to Gaara. Naruto also pinpointed the traitor of the group. However, the man seemed to not be in control of his own actions after watching him, because Gaara played it smart. He did not make the news public that the Akatsuki was coming, knowing that the traitor would inform the Akatsuki about this. Reina was giving Naruto all the information that she could before she could leave, as Naruto was worried about this, knowing that if they found out she was dead. However, they came towards the area. It was both Sasori and Deidara, as they were about to meet up with the so-called traitor that was betraying the village, the man that was under Sasori control. Before Sasori could even reach the man though, the man was knocked down. Something pushed past him as Sasori eyes went widen under his puppet shell. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So what's going to be in this new episode? What the hell? That was the first thought that came to Deidara's mind. They were supposed to be meeting up with their spy inside of the village, but instead, it happened so fast. Sasori's tail had shot out in response, but it was destroyed. Deidara was leaping back when suddenly, sand behind him erupted. It tried to grab him. He quickly opened his palm. The mouth spat a spider to the sand as it exploded. He rolled away as he flipped to his feet. He quickly created an owl as he leaped on top of it. Floating up in the air, that is when he saw the Kazekage standing on top of the wall, his arms folded, as a smirk came on Deidara's face. If he was up there, then who was? Deidara glanced down briefly. That is when he saw Sasori in his true form, something that he hasn't seen in a very, very long while. His red hair blew in the night wind, as Sasori was surprised himself. His reaction time was just not fast enough. Hiroku was completely destroyed. There Naruto stood, his arms at his side, gazing down towards Sasori as he stand on a sand dune. Sasori looked up, remembering their last encounter, knowing not to take this opponent lightly, not in the slightest. Otherwise, it might mean his demise. As Sasori gazed towards Naruto and spoke, "This is twice now that you've interfered with our organization," he said. He was not counting the time that they came after him. "So, there is a traitor in the organization." Sasori was looking for any twitch or any movement that Naruto might show, but he received absolutely none. "I must commend you on that stern face of yours. Almost like a puppet, lacking any sort of emotions," Sasori said. "However, this will be the last time that you intervene." He pulled out a scroll and quickly summoned. It was the third Kazekage. Sasori stood behind him as he held his strings together. "It's time I put an end to you." The puppet shot forward at immeasurable speed. Immediately its arms, blades emerged from them. Naruto had not said a word or moved from his position. As the puppet was coming towards him, he started to bounce on his feet, left to right, left to right. Suddenly, the sand kicked up as Naruto was gone. Sasori moved his fingers immensely fast. However, he had to draw back the Kazekage. Upon pulling the Kazekage back, all of the blades were broken. Sasori was shocked. He did all of that with just his bare hands. Naruto then vanished. Sasori's eyes kept snapping around. As a trail started to arrive around him, the sand started to kick up as Naruto was moving around him in incredible speed. Quickly, Sasori opened the Kazekage's mouth. Naruto arrived in front of Sasori. However, iron sand emerged right beneath him and shoot towards Naruto's face. Naruto crossed his arm as the iron sand slammed right into him. It then came down on him. Boom! "It's over," Sasori said. The sand turned into thousands of needles and dropped on the area, ripping the place apart, Naruto included, given the fact that Sasori just stomped him into the ground. The only reason why the Kazekage still stood was because of the breeze of Naruto movement. Sasori had the Kazekage covered itself with the iron sand as Naruto's fist made contact with it. The Kazekage was thrown away along with its protection. Sasori was baffled as he looked toward the destroyed area where no one lay. That's not possible. That should have hit him. Can he teleport? Sasori wondered to himself. That must be the case. There is no way that his speed is that great. Naruto kept on slamming his fists again and again and again in the iron sand. "You naive fool," Sasori said. "It is impenetrable. You cannot break that with your bare hands." But Naruto was not stopping as he kept on slamming his fists again and again and again and again and again and again. His fist turned into blur as he rapidly punched the thing. Sasori saw his opportunity to strike from behind when suddenly Sasori was baffled as the sand opened up. Upon inside, he saw the Kazekage puppet. Sasori felt the slack in his puppet string. What the hell? As Naruto dashed right through and smashed his fist right into the head of the thing, taking it completely off. He wasn't done though. Naruto threw his fist forward at speeds that his hands looked like blurs. The puppet was picked apart, piece by piece, until the sand finally dropped. Sasori stood there shocked and in disbelief on what happened when he saw it. But Sasori couldn't believe it as he now knew what happened. Those punches were not for anything. Those punches were releasing tiny wave of chakra that went through the iron sand. How could one have such master over their chakra that they could manipulate it in a way like that? It was like trying to skip a stone on the water when the water is electrified, but the stone passed through all of the critical areas and it damaged the puppet on the inside. Each blow was hitting the puppet in such a way that Sasori would not notice until it finally gave way. Sasori realized that he was not dealing with any ordinary ninja here. He wasn't only powerful, but his mind was a truly deadly weapon. Naruto vanished as Sasori quickly held his hand out as a canister appeared in his palm. He released intensified flames all around him, burning the entire place, trying to keep Naruto at bay, when suddenly, the broken blade that was within the vicinity of Sasori ripped through his arm, stopping his fire attack. As Naruto stood a few feet away from him, his arm extended, an ability that he acquired after leveling up, telekinesis. Naruto then blurred away. Sasori tried to jump back, but Naruto grabbed his arm and threw his fist forward. Sasori started to panic, knowing that that fist would destroy his body completely, and without another, he would be useless to do anything. However, he modified his body just for things like this. Sasori opened his mouth. The roof of his mouth came down to reveal a canister. Poisonous needles shot right into Naruto's eye. As Naruto was forced to raise his hand and knock away the needles, Sasori detached his hand and jumped away. Flipping as he landed a few feet away from Naruto, he quickly reached behind him as he pulled out a scroll. He couldn't afford to waste any more time on this guy and not pull out his most deadliest technique. As he quickly threw the scroll, he opened his chest compartment, tearing his cloak to do so. Hundreds of wires attached to what seemed to be hundreds of puppets. "I must commend you," Sasori said. "You are beyond what I expected. Our last battle ended in your favor. I knew your strength was great, but this is phenomenal. I will enjoy the puppet that I turn you into once we are finished. Your chances of succeeding is now over. I have brought down a nation with this technique already. You cannot win," Sasori said. Naruto was still quiet as his gaze snapped around, watching the hundreds of puppets. The Sand Defense were looking rather worried. This was bad. What should we do? They wanted to intervene, but Baki raised a hand. "You were all given specific orders to remain where you are, unless you were told to join the battlefield. Now, remain as you are, and have faith in your Kazekage words, that they will handle this." Over with the Konoha team, Neji was looking rather shocked. "What is it?" It was Yamato that spoke. "They're puppets. It is a puppet man, Sasori. He's wielding over 100 puppets." 100? Sakura said in shock. How can someone wield such puppets at one time? All of the threading is attached to a special canister in his chest. It's fluctuating with so much chakra. His mind is not something that will burn up from handling the stress. He's truly turned himself into a puppet. Neji was surprised that someone would do that to themselves. "We should help," Sakura said. "If the Kazekage is fighting the other one, Naruto will have to fight those puppets himself. That's a bit too much, isn't it?" Yamato looked towards Kakashi. When Neji gasped, they turned towards him. "What?" they asked. Back to the fight, as Naruto stood there. "What? Not going to say anything? No last words?" Sasori asked. As Naruto's body started to glow blue. His body started to glow, the power started to bubble around him. Purple lightning started to flash off his skin. Meanwhile, Deidara was running on his bird, one of his arms missing. Aren't you gonna help your friend? He said. Look like he's in quite the bind. Gaara glanced over to where Naruto was. You should be worrying about yourself, he said, as a sand arm shot towards Deidara. Meanwhile, the puppets came raining down towards Naruto, who was still silent as he opened his mouth. Quicksilver, said Naruto, as his eyes started to glow blue. Dagger rush, Naruto said again. Demolish, activating 3 techniques at once. As Naruto's 2 daggers were now in his hand as he threw them upwards. They then split apart and ripped through 2 puppets. Naruto then blinked away and appeared next to one of them as he slashed through 5 puppets. He then blinked away. All everyone saw was light. All color light from the dagger rush. And broken pieces of puppets falling down. Baki was shocked. Because from his perception of what happened, 100 puppets were taken down in less than a minute. Sasori had a quizzical look on his face. The most he could look like he was shocked. On the inside though, he couldn't understand. This was not possible. Sasori saw Naruto walking towards him, his hair shadowing his eyes. How? This is not possible. What are you? Sasori said, losing his cool. He couldn't be defeated like this. That was less than a minute. No, he refused. Sasori opened the canister in his hand and fired jet beam of water towards Naruto as Naruto vanished and appeared next to Sasori. Slice. Sasori's head was taken off as his body stood there. Sasori was just not on Naruto's level at all. Nothing that he had. Nothing come close to what Naruto was. Naruto wasn't done though, as his hand vibrated with lightning as he slapped it on Sasori's back. Countless of people that he faced in the past, he always gained their most powerful technique after defeating them. He had the knowledge, the information. When Naruto slapped Sasori on the back, a lightning current traveled through him as it toasts the artificial heart that was in his chest. The body spasmed several times before falling down. The system popped up in front of Naruto as he leveled up once again. He was at level 110. He's done a lot over the past. He's grown immensely. His HP was at 124,000. His CP chakra point was at 101,000. His strength was at 238. Strength was really different in the weight measure. An average, full-fledged Jonin wouldn't have a strength passing 100. Using chakra to enhance your physical form, it still wouldn't pass 100. The only few exceptions that might pass that was Might Guy and Lady Snetty, but their strength was nowhere near 200. Maybe 101, 102, those levels. Or maybe he was exaggerating a bit much. Maybe 90, not going over 100. As Naruto knew that his physical capabilities were beyond anyone. He tested himself several times, and he was still growing. His vitality was at 246. His agility was at 300 flat. His intelligence was at 256, and his sensing was at 277. That was his stats at the moment. With his level being so high, yes, Naruto has evolved a lot in the past couple of years, defeating Sasori as Naruto replenished himself. his whole body lighting up before it calmed down. Naruto stepped towards Sasori as he raised his hand above him. Arise. Slowly but surely, Sasori shadow form started to rise. With Naruto level being much higher, the process had not failed him since. As Naruto wrote the name, the Scorpion King, given after his moniker the Red Scorpion. As he sunk into his shadow, another powerful foe added to his arsenal. He also got a special gift. As Naruto reached out and saw what it was, the stronger opponent that he defeated, the stronger and more powerful the gift was. Upon obtaining the anti-chakra blade, that was a mental test for himself. A mental test that almost broke him, and his hardest test to this day. Usually some of his gifts would impact on the surrounding area, and this one did. As Naruto looked at the name, the Iron Blade, this wasn't any normal iron. As Naruto looked toward the dead Kazekage puppet, he quickly stored the blade away in his inventory. That is when he saw Gaara trying to contain. As Naruto's eyes focused on the attack, he was able to feel the amount of explosive power in it. Sasori was now dead. Deidara was trying to flee. Naruto pulled out his anti-chakra blade. As Naruto threw it, Gaara was in a bind. He couldn't get this man out of the air. The problem was now he just dropped a massive explosive. Even with this distance, it would affect the hidden sand. Gaara brought all of his sand out in order to stop it. Deidara was running away. As he realized that, even if he did disarm the Jinchuriki and try to get him, he was in no shape to go against a man that just obliterates Sasori like it was nothing. The leader was right about this guy. He was on a completely different level that they just could not match. And given the fact that he was here, it seems like there was a spy in the organization. The leader had brought that to reality some time ago. He had spoke to each and every one of them. Reina had not informed Naruto because they were all being watched. This was after she informed Naruto about the Akatsuki attack on the Sand Village. So yes, it seems like they were close to figuring out that there was a spy in their midst. Well, who it was, maybe they don't know just of yet. Reina believed that it was time for her to leave very soon. She had enough information for them to stop the threat of the Akatsuki because she knew each and every one of the members. It was then that Gaara saw something split through his sand. It went through without no hesitation. As it slammed into the bomb, Naruto's sword started to disrupt the energy. Unlike the Tail Beast bomb that split in half, this imploded upon itself. However, majority of the chakra inside of it, the explosive chakra, was destroyed. As Naruto took to the heavens, using his telepathy and his floating ability, he could fly. Using wind to further enhance his boost, Naruto blew past Deidara in the sky. Gaara was shocked as he saw this small explosion. The blade then slammed into the ground. His sand disappeared when the blade touched it. As Gaara realized that this was no ordinary blade, however his foe was already gone. Deidara was raining through the sky trying to get away when he felt it. Deidara tried to move, but the punch that slammed into his face shattered everything on the left side. Multiple teeth flew out of his mouth and blood and gum. He was blasted from the heavens. He had never been in such pain before. Deidara crashed in the ground on his left side, fracturing his arm that he still had. He cursed. His words came out slurring. However, Gaara's sand wrapped around him tightly and held him in place. "Where the hell did you come from?" Deidara said slurring his words. "You wouldn't have been able to leave anyway," said Naruto, as the reinforcements finally came on the scene. As Naruto stood there, he turned towards Gaara. "There's nothing that we need from him." Gaara did not need to be told twice. He clenched his fist as Deidara screamed. The sand crushed every single part of him into a ball as blood leaked out of the side. None of them seemed to really care about what just happened. Not even Sakura. She was a medic now. A trained fighting medic. She's dealt with blood so many times. "It's over," Sakura said, looking around at the destruction as the sand reinforcements started to make their way as well. Time skip. It was 2 days ago that they went after the One-Tails. Reina was confused and surprised. They were being told to go to the area close by so they can do the extraction process. She was greatly confused by that. She told Naruto everything, but yet they still got it. How did he allow them to get it? Wait, could that mean? No, he couldn't be dead. Otherwise, that thing that he gave her would have disappeared, right? Reina thought to herself as they made their way. Kisame was strangely quiet, and that was weird, she thought to herself. Kisame was not a deep thinker or anything like that. He just had one thing on his mind, his goal, and he didn't go beyond that. Arriving towards the area. "Here? Really?" she said. "This is where we begin the extraction process?" She jumped away, narrowly avoiding Kisame's sword from shredding her. Reina landed. "What the hell?" she said, as she sent him a glare. Lightning flickering off of her, she landed. "Why did my partner have to be the traitor, huh?" Kisame said, shaking his head in disapproval. "You know, that makes me look bad as well." Reina felt something as she jumped away. The ground exploded as a hand almost grabbed her. She then turned and grabbed Hidan's sight and slammed him out of the air. Hidan crashed to a tree as she threw the sight at his skull, but he dodged at the right moment. Reina landed as she was surrounded. The only reason why you were told that there was a traitor in the organization was to gauge your reaction. And you did well. It was Zetsu that spoke as he came from behind her. You masked your emotions quite well. However, to ensure that none of you were the traitors, after being told about the One-Tail kidnapping, you were followed by me personally. You were the only one that was unaccounted for some time. That could only mean you tip him off. How long have you been friends with the Namikaze? Zetsu asks, as Hidan and Kakazu was on the scene as well. She realized that she was here to be executed, or probably squeezed until she couldn't give out any information anymore. She narrowed her gaze around her. The seals on her body started to tremble. Come on now, Reina. You're powerful, but do you really think you can defeat all of us? Especially me, said Kisame. Hey, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Like you're the big hotshot around here or something, Hidan said. Well, going off of who is more powerful, I would say I am, Kisame said. Huh? You want to test that fish, boy? You know, just because you're immortal doesn't mean you don't feel pain, Kisame said, raising Samihata. Enough! Kakazu spoke up. We're not here for that. We're here for the traitor, remember? Oh yeah, Hidan said. Well, I guess I'll take my anger out on you. I never liked you anyway, you stuck-up, condescending bitch. I never liked you either. At least I'll enjoy burning that ugly face of yours off, Reina said, lightning cackling in her palm. As Kisame moved forward, she was strong, but taking on these 3 S-rank ninjas, perhaps she might come out of it alive, but she wouldn't be in a state that she would survive afterwards. Zetsu was an unknown to her. He was the mystery of it all. A distance away, watching, was a masked man as he observed the scene, standing in a tree. Reina realized that she was going to need help. To get out of here, she flashed through hand sign before she slammed her hand on her chest. Her white hair fluttering. That is when her shadow on the ground changed, as another shadow detached from it, emerging. What the hell? They thought to themselves. Kisame shot forward, only for something to send him sailing away as he broke through several trees. A few minutes earlier, the group had decided to stay for the night in the hidden sand. The next morning they were given a farewell and a thank you for the assist. The group was making their way back to Konoha when Naruto felt a sensation. He turned towards Kakashi. There's a problem. I have to go. That was all he said before he disappeared into his shadow, back to the original time. Kisame finally came to a stop as he met those blue eyes once again. Their last battle ended in Naruto's favor. Now Kisame knew why she interrupted the battle. However, Kisame wanted his revenge. He thrust forward at his fastest, racing towards Naruto. However, Naruto lifted his head to the sky as he held on to Reina. Their shadows connected to one another to prevent her from suffering the side effect of what he was about to do. As Naruto's teeth, they turned sharp. His eyes and the shape of his face. His eyes turned purple. His aura turned purple as he roared. The technique was called Dragon Fear. It drives his opponent into a state of fear, anxiety, and confusion. The entire valley shook with a ferocity as Naruto roared. The heavens quaked, the ground rumbled. The sky, the atmosphere became purple. The animals in the forest, some of them could not handle it as they collapsed dead. Hidan fell over, his whole body trembling. It felt like someone was ripping his insides apart. His head was throbbing. Kakazu's knees felt weak. Zetsu had to bury himself underground, feeling his very essence shaking. As Kisame was trembling as he used Samehata for support, the masked man, despite his distance, was also affected as he fell off the branch. He gripped on before he could fall completely to the ground. This technique took a lot of Naruto's CP. Therefore, he could not use it all the time. But this was his opportunity though. He could use this to end every single one of them now. Naruto pulled out his new iron blade. The blade was black as night. The handle was silver. Naruto gripped onto it as he rushed to Kisame to behead the shark man. However, Samehata suddenly extended scales towards Naruto. As Kisame snapped his gaze up with a bloody smirk, Naruto was surprised. Kisame was so overwhelmingly strong that he was able to suffer the side effect of Naruto technique without completely falling. As Naruto threw the blade behind him, it split through Hidan's skull and pinned him to the tree. Hidan was not able to stand up after Naruto's attack. Naruto flipped away from the scales. He then smirked. Kakazu plunged his hand through his heart, destroying it. It was the only way for him to recover. Above you, he shouted. It was then that Kisame glanced up. Reina, who was unaffected because Naruto was attached to her. Her whole body was cackling with lightning, and her power was still heavily suppressed. Lightning release. Dark shower, she said. The reason why so many had respect and feared her because of her immense, powerful body, which had this raw, violent wave of lightning affinity that no other possible human ever possessed on this earth. The lightning, it stimulated her insides, making her speed and strength something else. However, she released it. It was like a wave of water But it was lightning, so when it came down, it was catastrophic. But Kisame survived though. Yes, he did survive. His clothing was burnt. Kisame flashed through hindsight as he puked up so much water. He quickly activated his technique. The masked man sucked himself away as he collapsed on a floating box, his heart rate steadying down. He was still suffering the after effects of Naruto. Dragon Fear. Naruto held his breath as he was now in a giant bubble. Reina quickly cancelled out her technique, knowing that he was trying to use her lightning against her. Kisame quickly fused with Samehata to regain some of his strength rather quickly, as he turned into a half-man, half-shark, his first opponent as he dashed towards Reina. This environment makes her a lot weaker. Knowing of her weakness, he split at full speed towards her, only for him to slam into Naruto head first. Naruto actually headbutted him. Kisame was shocked when he was the one that was knocked away, as Naruto floated down and grabbed him around the waist. Naruto then started to push him straight down so that Reina could escape, as he noticed the bubble move when Kisame moved. Once again, his quick mind working into play. Kisame slammed his tail into Naruto's back though. Once, twice. A third time, making Naruto release him. He then spun and slammed it in Naruto's chest, knocking him away. He then turned his deadly claws to rip Naruto's face completely off. However, Naruto snapped his eyes open and released. A technique. Most people have it, but his bloodlust was different. Kisame stopped frozen in his tracks as he tried to shake it off. However, because of his body being merged with Samehata, he had more power to do so. When Reina crashed into his back, knocking him down towards the ground, as Naruto was hovering above them, Naruto held his hand out as he started to spin. The purple aura surrounded his body before it became a suit of armor. His lower half was spinning, his upper half started to rotate and spun as well. Naruto became the attack himself. He called this one Sky Drilling Bullets. Naruto came down with blinding speed, changing the trajectory of the water. Kisame moved out of the way as Naruto ruptured through the earth, tearing it and ripping it apart. Kisame quickly floated back up to keep Reina inside of it. As he rushed towards her to end her life, he had to focus on one person at a time, when suddenly, he felt the rupture of the water as he turned. He quickly moved out of the way as his left arm was ripped off. What the hell? Kisame couldn't believe someone else was this fast in his own technique, as his blood sprayed down below. Kakuzu realized that he had to do something. Yes, he had to do something. As he realized Kisame was getting screwed inside, he quickly brought out his lightning heart, which he was going to use to murder each and every one of them, even Kisame, who was inside. His sacrifice will be noted. That was when 3 persons appeared, as Kakuzu found himself stepping back. 3 shadows. The first one was Yagra, the second one was Sasori, and the third one was Naruto's personal shadow that he's been using since the attack on Konoha. The one that seemed to lead them. His name was King. As he stood there with the staff in his hand, the blade at the tip of it, as the 3 of them rushed towards him without hesitation. As for Hidan, who had recovered, he was cursing, as the blade was stuck in his skull. The problem was the blade weighed so much. The blade was extremely heavy as he was trying to rip it out, when something plunged right in his chest. Above him was a shadow with 2 small blades as he plunged them into Hidan's chest. There was another to the left and one to the right as they grabbed his arm. They sliced it off and slice his legs off as well. Hidan cursed up a storm, the shadow with the two blades stomping his face. As he held him down, the shadow seemed to be smiling as he started to work on his corpse. Meanwhile, Kisame cursed his luck. When he focused on one, the other one came up behind him. The problem here was Naruto. If he wasn't here, Kisame would have of course won this match with Reina, but his speed was something else. But he must be run out of breath. Kisame thought to himself, Reina wasn't doing so good at all. As Naruto snapped his gaze towards Reina, who was in need of breath. His body has adapted to such situation. Yes, he still had to breathe, but it wouldn't be affecting him for a very long while. Naruto sent one of his shadow out and used a shadow extraction, switching with Reina, as he used the shadow on her instead of himself. Kisame watched as Reina was gone. She appeared a distance outside. When the shadow had consumed her, she had to open her mouth. So she was now coughing up water. As she realized that Naruto was all in there by himself, she quickly got to her feet as she started to remove the limiters on her body. The limiters that suppress her vast power. The veins around her skin started to increase as she seemed to be having some difficulty. However, the ground under her feet started to crack slightly as she was removing the limiters one by one, when she heard something that made her stop. She glanced up towards the heavens. Meanwhile, Kisame now had one target to focus on. Kisame was moving at his fastest as he slammed into Naruto, ripping a part of him as he moved past him. Something was wrong though. Why wasn't he fighting back? That is when Naruto's eyes finally opened, and everything was swallowed. It was like the sun itself was blocked out, as Naruto's shadows came out in the masses. There was so much of them. Kisame found himself unable to move, trapped, unable to escape, unable to even move an inch. He was in the center, he was gripped all over. Their hands ripping and tearing into him as Naruto's cold blue eyes looked down towards him. Naruto then flew straight out. The only reason why Kisame was not dead yet was because of Reina was inside of the attack as well. And Naruto knew that if she was caught up in it, she would also fall as well. Also, his shadows were forcing Kakazu, who now had one heart, close towards the position as Naruto pulled out a blade. It was a very long blade. As he held it in the sky, the very atmosphere started to change, just like when he fought Kimimaro. This blade was not normal. As Naruto held it with one hand despite the size, it was cackling with purple lightning as the heavens started to mimic the blade. What Reina had felt was the purple aura that was leaving Naruto and going into the heavens. Now he had full control. The blade was called Stormbreaker. Reina, who had cleared her distance, knowing that Naruto was up to something, watched. Hidan was still cursing on the ground, unable to move. After being cut up into pieces, Kakazu only had one heart. All of Naruto's shadows vanished, returning back into him. It's over. He swung the blade. The very atmosphere seemed to tear. The sky rumbled, the heavens quake. Lightning, rain, thunder. Reina was baffled. She knew that Naruto was powerful, but this kind of power, she was beyond shock. The entire forest no longer existed. It was gone, wiped away, completely erased. He might have used a bit too much power in that attack, as Naruto tired himself out, using the Dragon Fear. While it stunned your opponent and give you enough time to end their life, it also caused so much chakra point. Too much chakra point to be quite exact, given the fact that Naruto now seemed to be a bit exhausted. But he could still fight. But facing a strong opponent right now wouldn't be too good for him as Naruto descended down. As he placed away Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker was one of the more powerful blades in his arsenal. It was even more powerful than the anti-chakra blade. While the anti-chakra blade can destroy chakra, Stormbreaker had no limits. It depends on the amount of chakra that Naruto used. If he was to use Stormbreaker going into this, completely full and healthy, and there was no one around that he wanted to save, the whole entire section beyond the forest would have also been gone as well. This was just a show that Naruto was holding back drastically while facing off against his father. Although Minato was also holding back, none of them really wanted to kill each other, so you can't really tell who was stronger. But it was kind of leaning to Naruto's favor, given his more deadlier attacks and techniques, and given that he was able to keep up with Minato's speed after pushing himself. Naruto was surprised when he saw Kisame. His corpse was still on the ground. As he realized what happened, Samehata had tried to absorb the chakra from Stormbreaker. The problem was it was too much. Samehata was now in pieces. The blade had burst, oversaturating of chakra, something that should be impossible, but not for Naruto. Kakazu was completely gone. Hidan might be immortal, but with his body vaporized, he was technically dead. Naruto stood in front of Kisame, who was sliced in half. Both of his hands gone, eviscerated from using Samehata to try and block the technique after unfusing, realizing that he could not survive that attack. But Samehata failed drastically. Kisame died right there and then. His body severely beaten and broken. Another one. Despite his weakened state, Naruto did it. Arise. However, he failed. Arise. He did it once again. But he failed. Maybe it was because of the state that he was in. But he only had one chance. One chance left. Arise, he said. However, this time it was a success. Naruto looked up as his level increased drastically from taking all of them down. As Reina came walking over, she looked at him. She seemed surprised. Well, I guess they now know that you're the traitor, said Naruto. Reina started to laugh. His joke was not funny at all, but him saying it in this situation after what she just saw, yes, it was funny, she thought to herself as she started to laugh. Yes, they know, she said, looking around. It seems you were right. They went straight for the kill, she said. But it doesn't matter. They're gone now, said Naruto, and you're no longer in any danger. That life, the life that you wanted beyond this one, you can still achieve it. Tuh. You remember that I'm a missing nin from Kumo, right? And I'm still on their wanted list. Yes, I know. But you see, I have an in with the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. You mean your father, she said to him. Yes, that means I have an in, said Naruto, looking at her. So, it's not like I'm gonna leave you out here all alone. Besides, the Akatsuki's not dealt with just yet. You told me about the plant creature, but it was nowhere around. Zetsu is a wildy one. He was able to trap me without I noticing. He can suppress himself, similarly to what you can do, maybe even better. And you say that there's a leader and Konan, correct? She nodded. There was someone else here, said Naruto. But they're gone now. Who? She asks. I'm not sure. But the person was here. Is there anyone else that you can think of? Oh wait, there is Tobi. But he's an idiot. An idiot, said Naruto. Yeah. He's a big joke in the organization. He isn't special one bit. I have no idea why they keep him around. That's the question, said Naruto. Why would the organization of powerful S-rank criminals keep around an idiot? As Naruto narrowed his gaze, as she saw where he was going with this, perhaps Tobi wasn't an idiot as she originally thought, a wolf in sheep clothing. Time skip. As Naruto and Reina had left the location, the same person that they were speaking about returned. He was completely fine now. It felt like his insides had been boiling and jumping around after that strange roar that echoed and tore through the entire valley. But he was fine now, as Tobi found himself surprised. He expected him to be strong. However, to take out all of them, he was sure that Reina was involved, but that did not matter. To take out all of them, it was 2 of them against 3 powerful S-ranks. Kisame alone should be able to hold himself, but seems like he was not able to do so. This was bad. Really bad. The Akatsuki was shortened, greatly so. Down to the original that brought it together. All of the others were now dead. Damn it, he thought to himself in frustration as Zetsu emerged out of the ground, also doing alright now after recovering from the mental and almost physical attack to a degree. Back at Konoha, Naruto stood in the office with Reina. Having returned some time ago, it took them a while to return though. As he stood in front of Minato, speaking to the man about the help that Reina had provided them with, Minato agreed to give her asylum for the moment. Within Konoha, they had signed a peace treaty with Kumo. In this situation, they should be handing over the missing names. However, Minato was breaking the peace treaty that they signed for helping his son friend. Yes, he was breaking it to do so. It's been a long time that she's been welcome in a village. It actually felt really strange to be in a village and not be there as a enemy or a missing Nina outsider, with the people actually knowing that she was here. Well, not people exactly, but the Hokage knowing that she was here and not making a fuss over it or sending ninjas to claim her life. Yes, it's been a long while since she experienced something like this, and she now found herself questioning everything. It was 3 years ago that she told herself that she needed meaning in her life. She wanted to pass on her lineage. She didn't just want to die and leave this earth without leaving a mark on it, something that she could be proud of. She's never truly been proud of anything. For her whole life, she was a killer, while in Kumo, sent on very dangerous missions, until she fell in love with a man that she found just so amazing. He was everything to her, until her love got in the way, and they deem it something that they couldn't agree to keep going. So he was killed. She then killed so many people after that. When she found out, she then fled. She joined the Akatsuki. She became a killer once again. So she wanted to leave something good on this earth. She's been thinking about this for some time now. Her as a mother. She couldn't see it, but maybe she could be a mother. A little baby who would look up to her. Who know that she would be there to keep it safe and protected. That would be good. But who would be the father? Reina. Naruto said, snapping her from her thoughts as she looked up. Come on, he said. As he made his way, they were heading toward his family compound. Naruto trusted Reina. He trusted her with his life. After all, they'd become good friends over the past. His back was turned as he was leading her towards the location of his family because he trusted her. He was making her meet his family as she was heading there. She glanced towards Naruto as she was staring at him, her mind thinking about a lot. She wondered. While that was going on, Jiraiya was heading back to the village. In their conversation, Naruto told his father that it's best if they strike now. However, they had to hear Jiraiya's side first, in terms of if he could stop what was going to happen. Well, they did not know what was his feelings regarding the subjects, as Naruto saw them as a threat that needed to be eliminated, but Jiraiya knew nothing of this. Finding out that the students that you teach so long ago are not dead but alive, but given the fact that they were a part of a group that want your goddaughter dead, well, they will have to see when you return to the village. But the Akatsuki would be expecting them not to make a move anytime soon. So this was a perfect time to make a move. But guys, be and subscribe right here. For what's the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.